She came to tell him she was carrying his child. He locked the gates and let the storm swallow her whole. On the worst night of her life, Vivian Hale stood outside her husband's fortress, rain tearing through her clothes, while another woman warmed his bed. By morning, she had disappeared, taken, hunted, erased. When Adrian Moreau finally found her abandoned car and the ultrasound photo inside, he understood the price of his cruelty. But some betrayals don't wait for redemption. If you want to see how far a man will fall before he fights back, stay until the end. Hit that like button and comment your city so I can see how far this story reaches. The storm had teeth. Rain came down in sheets so thick Vivian could barely see the road ahead, but she didn't slow down. Her hands gripped the steering wheel hard enough to ache, knuckles bone white under the dashboard glow. The wipers scraped frantically across the windshield, fighting a losing battle against the deluge. Lightning cracked overhead, splitting the sky open, and for just a moment the entire world lit up. Black trees bending in the wind, the empty highway stretching ahead, the darkness waiting on all sides. She should have turned back an hour ago, but she hadn't, because tonight mattered. Tonight, everything would change. Vivian's phone sat in the cup holder, screen dark and silent. She'd tried calling 3 times already. No answer. No surprise. Adrian Moreau didn't pick up the phone for anyone, not even his wife, especially not his wife. Her chest tightened at the thought, but she pushed it down. Not now. She couldn't afford to break down now. She had come too far, driven through too much to let doubt creep in at the last mile. She was almost there. Almost to the gates. Almost to him. The ultrasound photo was tucked inside her coat pocket, corners already soft from how many times she'd touched it today. She didn't need to look at it again. She had memorized every curve, every shadow, every impossible detail. 8 weeks. A flutter of cells that would become a person. Their person. She wondered if he would even care. The thought came unbidden, cold and cruel, but she couldn't shake it. Adrian had been distant for months now, longer, maybe. Cold in ways that had nothing to do with temperature. He didn't touch her anymore. Didn't look at her the way he used to. When he came home, if he came home, he moved through their house like a ghost, present but untouchable, his mind somewhere else entirely. Somewhere she wasn't invited. She told herself it was the business, the family, the weight of running an empire that lived in shadows and survived on fear. Adrian Moreau wasn't just a man. He was a legend, a name whispered in back rooms and courtrooms alike. People crossed streets to avoid him. Politicians returned his calls. Enemies disappeared. And she? She was just the woman he had married 4 years ago, back when he still smiled at her like she mattered. Vivian blinked hard, forcing the sting out of her eyes. The rain blurred everything anyway. The mansion appeared suddenly, a sprawl of stone and iron rising out of the dark like something from another century. Tall gates loomed ahead, slick and black in the downpour, topped with spikes that gleamed when the lightning flashed. She slowed the car, pulled up to the intercom box, and rolled down her window. Rain immediately soaked her sleeve, her shoulder, the side of her face. She didn't care. She pressed the button. Static crackled. "It's me," she said, voice barely loud enough to carry over the storm. "It's Vivian. Open the gate." Silence. She waited, heart pounding, rain drumming against the roof of the car. Nothing. She pressed the button again. "Adrian, I know you're in there. I need to see you. It's important." More static. Then, finally, a voice. Not Adrian's. "Mrs. Moreau." The guard's tone was carefully neutral, professionally detached. "Mr. Moreau isn't available right now." Her stomach dropped. "What do you mean he isn't available? I'm his wife. Open the gate." "I'm sorry, ma'am. I have my orders." Orders. The word hung in the air like a slap. "Whose orders?" Her voice sharpened, cutting through the rain. "Tell Adrian I'm here. Tell him I need to talk to him. Now." A pause. Longer this time. She could almost hear the hesitation crackling through the speaker. "Ma'am, I really think you should. Open the gate. I can't do that." The line went dead. Vivian sat there, staring at the iron bars in front of her, rain pouring through the open window and soaking her lap. Her breath came shallow and fast, chest tight with something that felt like disbelief, like fury. like heartbreak all tangled together. He wasn't letting her in. Her own husband, the father of the child she carried. He had locked the gates and left her standing in the storm. She grabbed her phone, fingers trembling as she pulled up his number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. "Damn you, Adrian!" Her voice cracked, but she didn't care anymore. She was soaked, shaking, falling apart in a car outside a house that used to be hers. "Pick up the phone. Pick up the damn phone." Nothing. Lightning flashed again, and this time she saw movement beyond the gates. A figure crossing the courtyard. No, 2 figures. One tall, broad-shouldered, unmistakable even from a distance. Adrian. And beside him, moving close enough to touch, was a woman Vivian didn't recognize. Slim, elegant, dressed in something dark and expensive. The kind of woman who belonged in Adrian's world in ways Vivian never had. The kind of woman who didn't get locked outside in the rain. They disappeared into the house together. Something inside Vivian shattered. She didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't slam her fists against the steering wheel or throw her phone or do any of the things she wanted to do. Instead, she sat very still, rain pouring over her, and felt the last fragile piece of hope she'd been carrying crumble into nothing. He had already moved on. She didn't matter anymore. Maybe she never had. Slowly, mechanically, Vivian rolled up the window, put the car in reverse, turned around. She didn't look back at the mansion, didn't give Adrian or the woman beside him another second of her attention. She just drove, hands steady on the wheel, eyes fixed on the road ahead. The storm swallowed her whole. Well, for the first 20 minutes, Vivian drove on autopilot. No destination, no plan, just movement, distance, escape. The highway stretched empty in both directions, slick and black under the rain. Her headlights carved weak tunnels through the dark, illuminating nothing but water and asphalt and the occasional reflective sign rushing past. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. Unknown number. Probably a spam call. She ignored it. It buzzed again. Same number. Frowning, she swiped to answer, keeping one hand on the wheel. "Hello?" Silence. Just static and the faint hiss of an open line. "Hello?" she said again, louder this time. Still nothing. Then the line went dead. Vivian pulled the phone away from her ear, staring at the screen. The call log showed 2 missed calls from the same unknown number, both within the last 5 minutes. Weird. She tossed the phone back into the cup holder and focused on the road. Probably a wrong number, or a robocall that didn't connect properly. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered right now except getting as far away from that house and that man as possible. Her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a call. It was a text. Unknown. You shouldn't have come tonight. Vivian's breath caught. She grabbed the phone, nearly swerving in the process, and read the message again. You shouldn't have come tonight. Her heart started to race. She typed back quickly, hands shaking. Vivian. Who is this? 3 dots appeared immediately. Someone was typing. Unknown. Turn around. Go home. Forget you were ever there. Panic flared hot and sharp in her chest. She looked up at the road, then back at the phone, then at the rearview mirror. Nothing but darkness and rain. No headlights. No cars. No one. Vivian. How do you know where I am? No response. Come on, she whispered, staring at the screen. Come on, answer me. Nothing. She tried calling the number. It rang twice, then disconnected. She tried again. Same thing. Her pulse hammered in her ears now, louder than the rain, louder than the engine. Someone was watching her. Someone knew she had been at the mansion. Someone wanted her gone. Another text. Unknown. You were warned. That was it. No explanation, no follow-up. Just those 3 words, cold and final. Vivian's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. She forced herself to breathe, forced herself to think. This didn't make sense. Who would be watching her? Who would care if she showed up at her own husband's house? Unless Adrian had sent someone. Told them to make sure she didn't come back. To scare her off, keep her away, make sure she understood that she wasn't welcome anymore. The thought made her sick. She glanced at the rearview mirror again. Still nothing. Just rain and darkness. She pressed harder on the gas. The engine sputtered. No. Vivian's voice came out sharp, desperate. No, no, no! The car lurched, coughed, and began to slow. Don't do this, she hissed, gripping the wheel tighter. Not now, not here. But the engine didn't care. It rattled once more, shuddered, and died. The car rolled to a stop in the middle of the highway. Silence crashed down around her, broken only by the relentless drumming of rain on the roof. Vivian sat frozen, staring at the dashboard. The fuel gauge read half full. The battery light wasn't on. Everything looked fine, except the car was dead. She turned the key. Nothing. Tried again. Still nothing. Not even a click. Damn it! She slammed her palm against the steering wheel, frustration boiling over into something sharper, something closer to fear. Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it instantly, hands trembling. Unknown. Run! The word hit her like a physical blow. Vivian's head snapped up. She looked out the windshield into the rain-soaked darkness beyond. And that's when she saw him. A figure. Standing in the middle of the road, maybe 30 feet ahead. He wasn't moving, just standing there, perfectly still, rain pouring over him like he didn't even feel it. She couldn't make out his face. It was too dark, the rain too heavy, but she could see his shape. Tall, broad, waiting for her. Her breath came fast and shallow now, chest tight with rising terror. She fumbled for the door lock, heard it click into place. Then she grabbed her phone again, fingers flying across the screen. Vivian, there's someone here. Please, I need help. No response. The figure started walking toward her, slow, deliberate, boots splashing through puddles, closing the distance step by step. Vivian's heart slammed against her ribs. She tried the ignition again, twisting the key so hard it bit into her palm. Nothing. The car stayed dead. The figure was 15 feet away now. She could see more details. Dark clothes. Something in his hand. Maybe a phone, maybe something worse. His face still hidden in shadow, 10 feet. Vivian reached for her phone, hands shaking so badly she almost couldn't dial. She pulled up Adrian's number, pressed call. It rang and rang and rang. Pick up, she whispered, voice breaking. Please, Adrian, pick up. Voicemail. The figure stopped right in front of her car, just stood there, staring at her through the windshield. Rain cascaded over him, but he didn't move, didn't speak. Vivian couldn't breathe. Then her phone buzzed again. She looked down. Unknown. He can't help you now. Her vision blurred. Tears mixed with rain and panic and the terrible crushing realization that she was alone out here. Completely alone. The figure raised his hand and knocked on her window. Vivian screamed. Tit-tit. The sound tore out of her, raw and primal, echoing inside the car. She scrambled back against the driver's side door, phone clutched to her chest, eyes locked on the shadow outside her window. The figure knocked again. Slow. Methodical. 3 deliberate taps. Please, Vivian gasped, voice barely a whisper. Please, leave me alone. The figure tilted his head. Then he reached for the door handle. Locked. Thank God it was locked. He pulled anyway. Once, twice, testing. Vivian's entire body shook. She couldn't think, couldn't move, couldn't do anything but sit there and watch as the stranger circled around to the passenger side. He tried that door too. Still locked. He stopped. Stood there for a moment, rain pouring over him. Then he stepped back, reached into his coat, and pulled something out. A crowbar. Vivian's heart stopped. She lunged for her phone, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. The call connected. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's trying to get into my car. Her voice broke. I'm on Highway 9, about 15 miles south of... The passenger window exploded. Glass sprayed across the interior, glittering and deadly. Vivian screamed again, throwing her arms up to shield her face. The phone flew out of her hand, disappearing somewhere in the footwell. A gloved hand reached through the shattered window, fumbling for the lock. Vivian didn't think. She just moved. She threw herself across the console, grabbed the crowbar hand with both of hers, and bit down as hard as she could. The stranger snarled, jerking back. Vivian tasted blood. His or hers, she didn't know, but she didn't let go. She held on, teeth clenched, fighting with everything she had. He yanked his arm free, and Vivian fell back against the driver's seat, gasping. The door lock clicked open. No. The passenger door swung wide. The stranger leaned in, rain pouring through the broken window, face still hidden in shadow. Should have listened, he said, voice low and rough. Then he reached for her. Vivian kicked, hard. Her heel connected with something solid, his chest, maybe his shoulder, and he stumbled back with a grunt. She didn't wait. She threw open the driver's side door and bolted into the storm. Rain slammed into her immediately, cold and brutal. She ran blind, feet pounding against wet asphalt, lungs burning. She didn't know where she was going, didn't care. She just ran. Behind her, she heard boots hitting pavement. He was following. Vivian pushed harder, legs screaming, heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst. The highway stretched endless in both directions. No lights, no cars, no help. Just rain and darkness and the sound of footsteps gaining behind her. She risked a glance back. He was close. Too close. She turned her head forward just in time to see the ditch. Her foot caught the edge, and she went down hard, tumbling through mud and water and gravel. Pain exploded in her shoulder, her hip, her hands. She hit the bottom and lay there for a moment, stunned, gasping, rain pouring over her. Get up. She had to get up. Vivian forced herself to her knees, then her feet. Mud sucked at her shoes. Her entire body ached, but she didn't stop. She clawed her way up the opposite side of the ditch, fingers digging into wet earth. She made it to the top and collapsed onto the grass, chest heaving. Silence. No footsteps. No movement. She lifted her head, blinking rain out of her eyes. The stranger stood on the other side of the ditch, perfectly still, watching. And then, slowly, deliberately, he raised one hand and waved. Vivian's blood turned to ice. He wasn't chasing her anymore, because he didn't need to. She looked around, finally taking in her surroundings. Trees, dense forest on all sides, no houses, no roads, no lights. She had run straight into the woods, and now she was lost. The stranger turned and walked back toward her car, calm, unhurried, like he had all the time in the world. Vivian pushed herself to her feet, legs shaking, and stumbled deeper into the trees. She didn't stop running until the sun came up. Adrian Moreau didn't sleep. He sat in his study, glass of whiskey untouched on the desk, staring at nothing. The storm still raged outside, rattling the windows, but he barely heard it. His mind was somewhere else entirely. Celine Voss sat across from him, legs crossed, perfectly composed. "You look tired," she said softly. He didn't answer. "Adrian," her voice sharpened just slightly. "Are you even listening to me?" He blinked, finally looking at her. "What?" Celine sighed, leaning back in her chair. "I was saying that the deal with the Italians is almost finalized. We just need your signature." "Fine." "Fine?" She raised an eyebrow. "That's it? No questions? No concerns?" "You've handled it. I trust you." That seemed to please her. A small smile curved her lips. "I appreciate that." Adrian looked away again, gaze drifting to the window. Rain streaked down the glass in endless rivulets. He thought about Vivian, just for a moment. Just long enough to feel the faint tug of something that might have been guilt. She had come here tonight. He knew that. The guard had told him. She'd stood outside the gates, soaking wet, asking to see him, and he had refused. Because what was the point? She would just cry or yell or ask him questions he didn't want to answer. She would remind him of things he didn't want to remember. She would make him feel... He cut the thought off. Feeling was a weakness, and Adrian Moreau didn't do weakness. "Are you sure you're all right?" Celine's voice pulled him back. She was watching him closely now, dark eyes sharp and assessing. "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." "I said I'm fine." Celine held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "All right, if you say so." She stood, smoothing her dress. "I should go. It's late." "Stay." The word came out before he could stop it. She paused, surprised. "Stay?" "The storm's bad. Roads are probably flooded, just..." He gestured vaguely. "Take one of the guest rooms." Celine's smile returned, warmer this time. "If you insist." "I insist." She crossed to him, leaned down, and pressed a kiss to his cheek. "Good night, Adrian." He didn't respond. She left, closing the door softly behind her. Adrian sat alone in the dark, staring at his reflection in the rain-streaked window. And for just a moment, just one fleeting, traitorous moment, he wondered if he had made a mistake. Then he poured himself another drink and drowned the thought. Morning came slow and gray. The storm had finally passed, leaving the world soaked and battered in its wake. Adrian stood on the terrace, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of bruised purple and pale gold. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen. A dozen missed calls, all from the same number. Vivian. He frowned, scrolling through the call log. She'd tried to reach him last night, multiple times. The last call had come in around midnight. He almost called her back. Almost. But then his assistant appeared in the doorway, face pale and drawn. "Sir, there's something you need to see." Adrian turned. "What is it?" "One of our patrols found a car on Highway 9, abandoned, passenger window smashed." Something cold settled in Adrian's chest. "And?" "It's registered to Vivian Moreau." The coffee cup slipped from his hand and shattered on the stone. Adrian was already moving before the assistant finished speaking. He crossed the terrace in 3 long strides, glass crunching under his shoes, and grabbed the younger man by the collar. "Where?" His voice came out low and deadly. "Where exactly?" "Highway 9, sir. About 15 miles south. Near the old—" Adrian didn't wait for the rest. He released the assistant and strode past him, pulling his phone out as he walked. He dialed his head of security. Marcus answered on the first ring. "Boss?" "Get every man we have on the road, now. I want eyes on Highway 9, 15 miles south. Find her." "Sir, we don't know." "I don't care what you don't know. Find her." He ended the call and kept walking, mind racing through possibilities he didn't want to consider. Vivian's car. Abandoned. Window smashed. His wife was missing. Celine appeared at the top of the stairs, dressed in one of the guest robes, hair still damp from a shower. "Adrian, what's going on?" He brushed past her without answering. "Adrian!" She followed him down the stairs, voice rising. "Talk to me." "What happened?" He stopped at the front door, hand on the handle, and turned to look at her, really look at her. Something in his chest twisted, cold and uncomfortable. "When did you get here last night?" he asked. Celine blinked, caught off guard. "What? What time did you arrive?" Around 8, I think." "Why does it matter?" 8. Vivian had been at the gates around 9:30, maybe 10. The timing was close. Too close. "Did you see anyone outside when you came in?" "No." "Adrian, what is this about?" He studied her face, looking for something. Guilt, knowledge, fear. But Celine's expression remained perfectly composed, nothing but confusion in her dark eyes. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe this had nothing to do with her, or maybe she was just that good at lying. "Stay here," he said finally. "Don't leave the house." "You can't just—" "I said stay here." He left before she could argue, slamming the door behind him. The drive to Highway 9 took 12 minutes. Adrian pushed the Mercedes past every speed limit, past every rational thought, past every voice in his head telling him to slow down and think. He couldn't think. Thinking meant acknowledging what might have happened. Thinking meant facing the possibility that Vivian— No. He pressed harder on the gas. His phone rang. "Marcus." "Talk to me," Adrian said, not bothering with pleasantries. "We found the car, boss. You're not going to like this." "I don't like any of this." "What did you find?" "Passenger windows completely shattered, glass everywhere inside. No blood that we can see, but—" Marcus hesitated. "There's signs of a struggle. Door was left open, and boss, her phone's here. It's in the footwell, screen cracked but still working." Adrian's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Anything else?" "Tire tracks. Fresh. Someone else was here." "How many vehicles?" "Just one that we can tell. Pulled up behind hers, then left heading north about—" Marcus paused, and Adrian heard him talking to someone else in the background. "About 4 hours ago, maybe 5. 4 hours. Vivian had been gone for 4 hours, and he was just now finding out. "Pull traffic camera footage from every intersection within 20 miles, Adrian ordered. "I want to know what kind of vehicle we're looking for. I want plates, make, model, everything." "Already on it." "And Marcus, Get forensics out there. I want prints. I want tire impressions. I want every piece of evidence that tells us who took her. You think she was taken? I know she was taken. He ended the call and took the next curve too fast, tires squealing. The highway stretched ahead, still slick from last night's rain, puddles reflecting the gray sky. When he finally reached the scene, 3 of his men were already there, standing around Vivian's sedan like sentries. The car sat at an odd angle, halfway off the road, driver's door hanging open. The passenger window was just gone, reduced to a spiderweb of cracks and empty space. Adrian parked and got out. His feet hit the pavement, and for a moment he just stood there staring at the wreckage of his wife's car. Marcus approached, holding something in a gloved hand. "Boss, you need to see this." He held out Vivian's phone. Adrian took it, careful not to disturb any potential evidence. The screen was cracked, but still lit up when he pressed the power button. No passcode. She'd never been good about security. The lock screen showed 23 missed calls. Most of them were to his number. Something sharp and ugly twisted in his gut. She had tried to reach him, over and over. While someone was hunting her, while she was terrified and alone, she had called him for help. And he hadn't answered. "There's more," Marcus said quietly. He pulled out an evidence bag containing a phone Adrian didn't recognize. "We found this in the grass about 10 feet from the car. Burner phone. Cheap, untraceable. Probably belongs to whoever was here. Can we pull anything from it?" "Already sent it to tech. They'll try, but I'm not optimistic." Adrian scrolled through Vivian's messages, looking for anything that might tell him what happened. Most were mundane, confirmations from her dentist, a reminder about a gallery opening, spam. Then he saw them. Unknown number, 4 messages. "You shouldn't have come tonight. Turn around. Go home. Forget you were ever there. You were warned. Run." His blood went cold. "Marcus." His voice came out flat, controlled, nothing like the rage building beneath his skin. Someone was watching her. Someone knew she came to the house last night. "The house? Your house?" "She was at the gates around 10. I didn't—" He stopped, jaw clenching. "I didn't let her in." Marcus had worked for Adrian long enough to know when to speak and when to stay silent. This was a staying silent moment. Adrian kept scrolling, call logs, text threads, emails, looking for anything, any clue that might... He stopped. There, in her photos, uploaded just yesterday afternoon, an ultrasound image. Adrian stared at the screen, the rest of the world fading away. Black and white, grainy, barely visible, but unmistakable. 8 weeks, the caption said. Due November 12th. She was pregnant. Vivian was pregnant. She had come to tell him she was pregnant, and he had locked her out in the storm. The phone slipped from his hand. Marcus caught it before it hit the ground. "Boss, you all right?" Adrian couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The weight of what he'd done, what he'd failed to do, crashed over him like a physical force. "Boss?" Marcus's voice sharpened. "Adrian, look at me." He looked up. "We're going to find her," Marcus said firmly. "Whatever it takes. We'll find her." Adrian's vision cleared. The grief, the guilt, the self-loathing, all of it crystallized into something harder, something colder. Fury. Pure, focused, deadly fury. "Get me the footage," he said quietly. "Get me everything. I want to know who did this. I want names, locations, connections. I want their entire life history laid out in front of me by the end of the day. Consider it done." "And Marcus?" Adrian met his eyes. "When we find them, and we will find them, they're mine." Marcus nodded once. Understood. Adrian turned back to the car, forcing himself to look at it properly. Really see it. The shattered glass, the open door, the mud streaked across the seats where someone had reached inside. His wife had fought. He could see the evidence of it, scratches on the door frame, a dent in the dashboard where something had hit hard. She hadn't gone quietly. Good. He walked around the vehicle, studying the ground. Tire tracks, like Marcus had said. Boot prints in the mud leading away from the car and into the ditch. Then nothing. The trail went cold at the tree line. Adrian crouched down, examining the prints more closely. Military-style boots. Size 11, maybe 12. Deep impressions suggesting someone heavy or carrying extra weight. Professional. This wasn't some random highway robbery. This was planned, coordinated. Someone had known Vivian would be on this road at this time alone. Someone had been watching her. The messages came back to him. You shouldn't have come tonight. They knew she'd been at the mansion, which meant they'd been watching the house, watching him. Which meant this wasn't just about Vivian, this was about hurting him. Adrian stood, pulling out his phone. He dialed a number he rarely used, one reserved for situations that required particular expertise. A woman answered. Moreau, it's been a while. I need you to trace some messages, Adrian said without preamble. Unknown sender sent to my wife's phone last night between 10 p.m. and midnight. Your wife? The woman, Katerina, sounded surprised. I didn't know you had a wife. Can you do it or not? Of course I can do it. Send me the details. But Adrian, if someone's going after your family, just find out who sent the messages. It'll take a few hours, maybe more if they used good encryption. I don't care how long it takes. Find them. He ended the call and turned to Marcus. I want a list of everyone who knew Vivian was coming to the house last night. That's going to be a short list, boss. You didn't exactly advertise it. Then it should be easy. Start with the gate guards, move to house staff, anyone who was on duty. You think it's someone inside? I think someone knew she would be turned away. Someone knew she would leave alone, upset, vulnerable. Adrian's voice went deadly quiet. Someone set her up. Marcus pulled out his own phone, already typing. I'll have the list in 30 minutes. Make it 20. Adrian walked back to his car, mind churning through scenarios and possibilities. Enemies. Rivals. People who wanted him hurt, wanted him weak. The list was longer than he cared to admit, but this felt personal. Targeted. Someone who knew about Vivian, knew their relationship was strained, knew exactly where to apply pressure. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Every muscle in his body went tense. He answered. Who is this? Silence. Then a voice distorted by a modulator. Looking for something, Moreau? If you've hurt her, she hurt herself. Should have stayed home where it's safe. The voice was deliberately emotionless, mechanical. Should have listened to the warnings. What do you want? What do I want? A low, synthesized laugh. I want you to understand loss. I want you to know what it feels like when everything you care about is ripped away. You made a mistake, Adrian said softly. Coming after my family. Did I? Seems like I did exactly what I intended. A pause. Tell me, Moreau, how does it feel? Knowing she called you over and over, begging for help, and you ignored her? Adrian's grip on the phone tightened until the plastic creaked. She's alive, by the way. For now. Whether she stays that way depends entirely on you. Name your price. There is no price. This isn't about money. The voice shifted, something almost gleeful creeping in around the edges. This is about justice, about balance. You've taken so much from so many people. Time to give something back. Where is she? Closer than you think, but you'll never find her. Not before... The line went dead. Adrian immediately dialed back. The call wouldn't connect. He tried again. Nothing. Marcus! He strode back to where his head of security was coordinating with the forensics team. I just got a call. Trace it. Now. Marcus took the phone, already moving toward the tech van parked nearby. What did they say? That she's alive. That I'll never find her. Adrian's voice went flat and cold. They're wrong. While Marcus worked with the tech team, Adrian stood beside Vivian's car staring at the ultrasound photo.